My name is Joelle Guinette. I'm Territory Manager for SOLIDWORKS, and I have with me Michelle Cloutier, who is a Senior Solutions Consultant for SOLIDWORKS, and we're going to go through some interesting information today with you. There's three different things in this topic, and I want to touch on just a few before we get going. One is save and control your SOLIDWORKS data. So we're obviously talking about data management at a certain degree. Why data management? Great question. If you're not using it today, the basics is getting yourself organized, right? Is making sure that your data is organized, that your design files are referenced properly, so that if you move files around, that you're not worried about losing connectivity using your references. There's also a matter of having history that's important and interesting to have of what's happened in your design, to be able to either go back to a previous version or just consult what's been done and changes and why that's been done, and give you the power to be innovative in your designs and not stuck in one path in one place, and being able to change and try different things and be innovative so that your designs and your company has an innovative product at the end of the day. So all of these things are helped with data management, and you're going to see some of that today. We have a number of different solutions of data management for our SOLIDWORKS customers and users, but we're going to focus on one that's very unique today because it is cloud-based, and that's a main differentiator. And cloud-based tools in general bring about with themselves a number of things. And if you saw the video just before, you saw that one, there's no installation. Updates are done automatically, so these are things that you don't have to worry about. You can work on them from any device, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be your desktop. It can be a tablet. It can be a phone. It can be a non-Microsoft device as well. So it can be different things. And you can work on them from anywhere. As long as there's internet, of course, you need to be connected. But other than that, you can work on this from anywhere. So a lot of flexibility that comes with cloud. You also don't need to have any servers. IT, maintaining, setting up servers, the cost of servers, all of these things are alleviated when you're working on the cloud. So a number of things to take into consideration from cloud. So what we're going to do today is talk about data management on the cloud, and how we do that with SOLIDWORKS is with the 3DEXPERIENCE works. So that's what we're going to discuss. Before I jump into that, though, just a few notes on how to use GoToWebinar. If this is your first time using the GoToWebinar platform, you'll see that you have a panel on the right-hand side. Michelle, if you can switch to the next slide for me, please. Yeah, there you go. All right, so you've got an orange arrow that helps you minimize or bring back the panel that's on your right, so you can see the full screen when we're presenting. It gives you the option to change your audio from your computer. If it's not that great on your computer for whatever reason, you can switch it to phone. When you click on that option, it will give you the phone number and the access code to get onto this webinar, so don't worry about that. I've got some handouts for you today, so there's a number of them that are there, and you can download those at any time during the webinar so that you can access them and review them in your own time afterwards. And then there's a section for questions. So if there's anything that pops into your mind that you would like to ask us, please list it there. If we have time at the end, we will address them. If not, we will get back to you and make sure that we get your questions answered. So 3DEXPERIENCE works. What is 3DEXPERIENCE works? For those who were on with us 2 weeks ago, I gave a quick introduction to it, and we talked about this platform at length. But the idea is that Dassault Systems, of which SOLIDWORKS is a part of, has a number of other divisions that have amazing products in design for CATIA, in PLM solutions with Innovia, in simulation with Simulia, and I'm just naming a few that touch the design world the most, that are dear and close to our heart. And what we've been trying to do at Dassault, or what Dassault has been trying to do, is how to bring these amazing technologies into the world of SOLIDWORKS users. And this has been done through 3DEXPERIENCE works and the platform. So this is a platform. This is a platform that's meant not just for you as a designer, but for the whole company. So it's a place where everyone can get together. Again, if you were with us 2 weeks ago, you saw the collaboration aspect of it and how it can link different groups within your enterprise and how people can exchange ideas, different things. And Michelle will touch on that again today. But the idea is to connect your entire company, but not only connect it, but have it connected with, at the end and the core of it, design in the center and the main aspect of it, not just files, not just whatever else you'd be doing, but having data design, something that you're going to design or manufacture, whether it be mechanical, electrical, electronics, or all of those combined into one, having those at the heart of what you're going to do and having that as the consideration. So the platform includes apps, it includes services, it includes content. I used an example 2 weeks ago that was food-based, which was the pizza. I'm not going to do that again to make everybody hungry before lunch. We're going to stay away from that. But the idea is to keep everyone connected, collaborating, working together, sharing ideas, and really working together and moving forward as a company quickly and effectively together. So I'm going to let Michelle introduce how, again, data management, cloud, how we do that for SOLIDWORKS users is the 3DEXPERIENCE Works platform. And Michelle is going to show you how to do that today. Michelle's been with SOLIDWORKS for 15 years. He has seen SOLIDWORKS without data management, with data management, and now data management on the cloud. So it's a complete evolution. It's just the next step, and I will come back at the end to wrap things up. Over to you, Michelle.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joelle, and welcome everyone to this morning's session. So last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, when we did our first 3DEXPERIENCE Work webinar, we talked about one tool, Collaborative Business Innovator. What we did there was we created dashboards. We also created communities. We also went ahead and on those communities created posts so that we could share information with everyone on the team. We also talked about 3D Drive and 3D Play. So 3D Drive and 3D Play enabled us to view SOLIDWORKS CAD model on the web browser and even go ahead and do some annotation and comments and markups. Now, that was 2 weeks ago, and that tool, Collaborative Business Innovator, is really the stepping stone, the front door into the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Now, today we're going a step forward. We're actually going to talk a lot about SOLIDWORKS and how do you connect your SOLIDWORKS, your traditional SOLIDWORKS desktop tool inside the platform. And to do that, we're actually going to connect traditional SOLIDWORKS desktop with the platform. So basically our files, our SOLIDWORKS files, parts, assemblies, and whatnot, are actually being managed on the platform. So I'm going to be doing a lot of SOLIDWORKS today, a lot more than what we did 2 weeks ago. Basically, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using this assembly. So that's the final rendering of my assembly. That's my final design, but I'm actually going to start way earlier than that with a model that's halfway done. So as you can see, this is going to be my starting point, my starting assembly. And when we peel away the shroud, the covers, we see that inside that assembly, we have a lot of missing components. So obviously my task today is going to be to create new parts, put them into that assembly, get some parts from my cloud storage, put them into there, assemble everything. So we're going to be doing that through the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Now, technically, we're going to do 4 things. First of all, we're going to show how to what it's like to actually open and save SOLIDWORKS files to the cloud. Then we're going to actually pull parts that are stored on the cloud and pull them into my SOLIDWORKS assembly so I can complete my design. Then we're going to talk about revision. How do we handle revision? Remember, we're not just storing files. I say store a lot, but I should say manage. We're not just storing files on the cloud, we're managing files on the cloud. That includes revision with history tracking. We can see what actually took place, who did the changes, when, why, and actually we can go back in time and see the earlier revisions of those changes. So all of the first three things we're actually going to do inside of SOLIDWORKS. And the last thing is, okay, so now that I got all that data stored on the cloud, how do I have access to it? I can have access to it through SOLIDWORKS, which we'll see in the first three bullet items. But what if I just want to see what's up there? Yeah, I just want to navigate. I want to see what's been done, who worked on what design, and I just want to have access to the data, not necessarily do edits inside of SOLIDWORKS. So we're going to do that. So first things first, let's start with the beginning. I created a new part and a new drawing. It's not on the cloud yet. It's just inside of SOLIDWORKS. I've just been working this morning. I got up early to design a new part that I need in my design. So I'm going to open this up, see how to save it to the cloud, and also how to retrieve something that is on the cloud. So the assembly that's halfway done. So let's jump into SOLIDWORKS to do that. So as you can see, in SOLIDWORKS, I got nothing open. My files are actually saved locally on this, what we call the cache. So that's where my files are stored on my C drive. I'm simply going to open them so everyone can see them clearly inside of SOLIDWORKS. So as you can see, I got a little part and a drawing. Again, I've made that earlier today, but now I want to store that on my managed cloud area and see where, and then later on put that together inside my assembly. So from SOLIDWORKS, I'm going to expand this pane here, which is going to allow me to connect to my 3DEXPERIENCE platform. I hit connect, and because this is a secured area, I obviously need a password, and hopefully I'm going to hit it correctly the first time around. So I'm gonna hit my password. I got the right password. So now it's actually connecting to my cloud space, and the space is actually where I'm going to be storing my files. So I got a space here, UCR, that's actually my Dassault identifier. So I've created this space, and now I'm connecting to that space, and that's where I want to save and work from, basically. So now that I'm connected, I have this pane that's showing me the files open. So I got my drawing and my part. And when I hover over this little icon, it's basically telling me that, hey, this file has not been saved yet to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So that's exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to grab it here, and I'm going to simply say, yeah, I do want to save it. I got a couple of options. So for example, I could actually convert or do a PDF of that drawing if I need to. So I could actually do that as I'm connecting or transferring. And I'm going to key in initial design. Just a comment. And basically, as you can see, it's going to save the part and the drawing, says okay, and while we're at it, I'm actually going to create a bookmark. So you're going to see me work quite a bit with bookmarks, and bookmarks is, well, exactly what it is, a bookmark. It's just a way to find your designs, your components, parts, assemblies, and drawings, to find them easily. So I have a bookmark called Holmatro Spreader. I got a couple of things already in that bookmark folder, but I'm going to save that. So if I ever need to open it up again, it's going to be really quick to do so. So at this point, that's when the files are actually being copied to my cloud server. So as you can see, this takes a couple seconds. I've also enabled the option to create a PDF file, so that takes maybe a couple extra seconds. And while this is saved, we can see now that the files are saved to the cloud, and also they're synced. You see the little icon here, and let me just update. You see the little icon that says that, yeah, the drawing, right, and the part is synced, and it hasn't been changed since I've put it there, obviously, because I've just did put it there. And we can also use what we call maturity. So these files have different stages of maturity. So this engineering file presently is in work. So I could put it to frozen. So if I can send it there. So maybe I can do a design review with my manager, or I could actually send it completely to release because it's ready for manufacturing. Or I could send it to a private state because, well, I don't want anyone else to be working on that. I want those to be really private. What I'm going to do here, rather than doing that for that single file, I'm actually going to control select both of them and say, you know what, I want to send both of these files to a frozen state so I can review it later, but I don't want anyone to change it until the review's done. So as I do that, I can change them to that new maturity state, and we can see the update on the top here. So in other systems, people also call that workflows. Here we're just have a different terminology. We simply call it maturity. Now I'm not done here. I can close the drawing. The part though, I'm gonna keep open because I need to put that into my assembly, but now I need to actually get the assembly. So directly from here, from my panel, again, I'm going to navigate to my bookmarks. You already heard me mention something about bookmarks. Like I said, bookmarks is just a quick way to find your documents on the platform. So here I got my assembly, my spreader assembly. So from the add-in, I simply do a drag and drop inside my SOLIDWORKS window. Now, what's happening in the background is that I'm not opening directly through internet. Basically, what I'm doing is making, or the system is making a local copy, and we see that in my cache here. All the files have been copied locally, and once it's done, now I'm starting to work on my files inside of SOLIDWORKS. So that's how we get really good performance out of working with SOLIDWORKS, even though I'm connected to the cloud. Now I need to do some work here, so I'm going to, first of all, before I go too far, I need to do some changes to my assembly. Now in my panel, we can see that we have the whole tree structure right here, right? So we can navigate, and as I'm selecting some of these components, they cross highlight on the pane in the window. But this part, this assembly here, I need to do some work. So what I'll do here is that I'm going to reserve it. So basically that's going to let everyone know, even though they're working on the same assembly, that I'm the one actually doing some edits now. So remember, this is data, but we could be 2 or 3 different people working on the same assembly, but using this reserve state actually gives me write access to the file, but also warns everyone else that I'm doing the changes now. So like I said, I need to do the changes here. So I'm going to do hide these shrouds, and I'm going to insert my rod end right over here. And I'm going to do some quick SOLIDWORKS edits just to snap this in place. And let me zoom in, control select these two, make them coincident, and position it. So I've done this work quite quickly. I could save it. Now I got write access to this file. So really, that's how easy it is to simply save files that are stored locally on your computer back to your cloud, secure cloud area, cloud space, but also how you can retrieve data from the cloud. So you see that I can do everything from within SOLIDWORKS, from the pane, the add-in right inside of SOLIDWORKS. Now I've started putting this assembly together, but I'm not done yet, right? I need to get some other files. I know they're stored somewhere in my on the cloud. I need to find them, and I need to add them to my SOLIDWORKS assembly. So we're going to use actually 2 different techniques. The first one is the search. where I can simply go ahead up there and search everywhere on the cloud and find my components. Also, bookmarks. You heard me talk about bookmarks. Bookmarks is just a great way to find your files that you want to reuse quite easily, quite quickly. So let's do that. Let's jump back inside of SOLIDWORKS. Now I need a part here. Now I know this part is a link of some sort. So from my pane, I'm simply going to type in link and hit the search. Now this is actually searching everything on the platform that I have access to, and everything is indexed as well. So what that means is that when I type link, I'm gonna get a lot of results. I have 253 results, and you'll notice some of these results are images, others are documents, others is simply text in a post. Now I need to filter this out. There's just way too much information, but using our tags, I can simply sort and say, well, I need a physical product. I need a part that I want to put inside of my SOLIDWORKS assembly. And further down, I need a part I know is stored in my space. So I got now these 19 different results. Well, I see these pins, not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's just scroll down. The very last one here, if I select it, I can actually now view this file. So you see the title of this file is not even link, it's something else, it's a bunch of numbers. I got the preview of this file, but basically what happened is I have, in the properties of this file, I have link somewhere. It's actually in the file description. So now from here, I can simply drag and drop right inside of SOLIDWORKS. It brought it inside of SOLIDWORKS, and now I'm simply going to do some assembly, right? So I'm going to make that concentric, control select these four faces. So if you're not familiar with the with mate, this is super awesome, goes really quick. And then the last thing I want to do is probably just put this and this concentric, control select, put it concentric, and I'm done. So I've assembled it. Now I need to gather some more components. This time I'm going to use a different technique. I'm going to use my bookmarks. Again, bookmarks is just great when you know where you just want to get some documents, you know where they are. So I got a little bookmark here called library. I got my different pins. You see the description of each of those here listed. So I'm going to grab the long pin, which is a 22 by 50. So I'm going to grab it, drop it inside my SOLIDWORKS assembly. Now I need to assemble it again fairly quickly. Oops, using Alt drag to Smart Mate. I'm going to drop this right over here. I'm also going to need a toolbox item. I'm going to need my snap ring. So from Toolbox, probably many of you are using Toolbox. We can still use Toolbox. Simply drag and drop. It's going to match to the size, 22 mil. That's exactly the right size I need. Now I'm done with the Toolbox part. I need to copy both of these parts, the pin and the toolbox. Again, if you don't know about this little tip, copy with mates. So I've selected two parts. I say I want to copy with mates, and I want to recreate the mates in this cylindrical hole on that flat face. Click OK. I'm done. I only need to update the length of this pin to make it 40 millimeters long. And if I want to be, diligent with my work, I'm going to simply control select everything, control select the front plane, and then do a mirror component. Looks good. Click OK. And basically, I've created my assembly and I've did some pretty good work, I have to admit. Now, before we go forward, if I start moving this just to make sure I think there's actually going to be a little problem here. When I use my move, let's try the collision detection. Seems I'm getting some bit of collision here. So I'm going to analyze this using my collision detection. And yeah, there's going to be a problem here. You see there's a collision preventing me from going full stroke on this part. Actually, if I disable the stop at collision, I could actually move it a little further. So there's going to be a change that's going to need to be done on that arm part. That's going to be a revision. So before we do the revision, let's wrap up what we've done so far. So adding parts that are stored on the cloud is not hard. You saw me using a couple techniques right inside of SolidWorks. I can use the search. I'll use the search a little further down as well, and you see some more functionality about search. Now, what's great about search, everything is indexed. Part numbers, description, material, name it, right? So all the information of the file is indexed, so now I can search on any of those properties. And so I use the search and I use the bookmarks. I really love bookmarks, just a great way to just know when you have components like library components. That's probably the best way to do it. Put them into a bookmark library and then pull it as you need it. Now the next thing that I want to cover is, okay, so now that we've taken all of these parts, we quickly did drag and drop right inside of SolidWorks from my add-in. Now I want to work with revisions. Now when we say that we're storing, and I kind of corrected myself earlier, we're not just storing, we're managing files on the cloud. What that means is that now I can keep track of revisions, I can keep track of changes, and I can go back and see all the history of those changes, and we'll explore that a little bit better as we go on. So I got a couple things. I have to revise the part, the arm, like you saw the collision, so I got to make a revision for that. But I also want to create the revision for my whole assembly. I have to change some pins. Some of the pins are not strong enough. I want to change that. And also the handle. There's been a new model of that handle that while I was working, someone else was actually doing that. So we'll see how we can swap this into my assembly. So again, let's go back inside of SolidWorks and do that. So this part here, I'm going to open it. And let's do a section view just to see clearly where the problem is. So you see the problem is actually in this opening. It's not wide enough, right? So I want to do some changes. So back to my panel, you see here it's already reserved because I've been working on it. So I want to do a change. So I'm going to select this face and simply change that to maybe 120. I think that's going to be a good angle. Let's save it. We can turn off the section view. And now it's telling me that, hey, I've done a change since I've opened this file from the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So now this file is newer than the version on the platform, but I want to capture this, save it, and then I'll have the option to create new revision right over here. So as I do that, and while we're at it, I'm going to add a bookmark just so we see, if we need to go back to that part a little later. So I'll put it in my bookmarks. Like you heard me say, I love bookmarks. And I'm going to add a revision comment, and I'm simply going to say wider opening, and say that after I'm done, I want to release the reservation because I'm not going to be working on it anymore. So as I do that, I hit save. It's going to save this back to my secured space on the cloud. And now you see it's actually marked as B1. So I've created that revision on the fly. And also the part is now back in read-only because I'm not reserving it anymore. So if I double check my assembly, yeah, assembly looks good. So we'll go ahead with that. Now I need to do a couple more changes in my assembly. So let's put all my components back together. So one of the changes I also want to do is these pins here. I've learned that these pins are not strong enough, so I'm going to delete them and replace them by other pins I know I have somewhere in the platform. Again, let's do a quick search on pin. Now, we're actually a couple hundred users on that platform. So if I simply type in pin, chances are I'm gonna get like a gazillion results, 572. So I'm not closer to where I need to be. But what I can do, I know this pin is made of material 4340. So I can actually type different properties in the same search field. And again, because everything is indexed, I got my pin that's showing up here. Again, I can view here directly in the panel. I can view the pin. And when I scroll down, you'll see a couple things. Scroll down further so we can see everything I want to show. So you can see the pin is actually part of the description, and 4340 is part of the material. So in one search, I can actually filter out multiple different properties. And when I'm happy with my find, I simply drag it inside of my SOLIDWORKS assembly. And at this stage, it's just a matter of finishing the work inside of SOLIDWORKS. So I'm gonna drop it over here because I'm really meticulous about my work. I'm going to update my mirrored assembly to include the pin, and now that pin has been changed. Now I talked a little bit about the handle. Let me just expand that and show all my parts and assemblies. And when I select the handle, we see it here. If I select the handle assembly, we see the whole assembly. And I want to draw your attention to the revision and the little plus icon. There's a little plus icon, and basically what this is telling me is that while I was working on this assembly, someone worked on the sub-assembly and created a revision. So the plus is actually telling me that on the platform, there's actually a newer revision. So what that means is, yeah, I do want to change for the latest and greatest. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to say, I want to replace that by the newer revision. Now it's actually looking at it, and here it found the revision B, and there's even a comment that the designer put in when they created the revision, said the handrail was difficult to manufacture, and redesigned it. And we can probably understand there's that curved area down the bottom here we can see. So I do want to swap out this old rev by the newer revision. So I'm going to click OK, and this is going to be done on the fly. So what's going on behind the background, in the background, is that it went ahead, got the new revision of that handle that we can now clearly see over here, right, with the square bottom, and swapped it out for this one. So basically at this stage, I would like to say that, yeah, I'm happy with this design, with my changes, and I want to release. I want to save everything back, and I want to release everything. So now I'm going to save it back to the cloud. Now it's gathering all the information. So my spreader here, I want to create a new revision so we can actually compare both of them together, right? And then you notice the handle assembly is set to B1 with the handrail. That's part of that new revision. The arm is somewhere in there. There it is. The arm is set at revision B as well. So now the only thing I need to do is basically, hey, save it. And I'm going to release reservation. So I'm not going to be working anymore on this assembly. So I'm going to simply go ahead and save everything and update all the information back to my space on the cloud. So that's how, that's one of the methods we can use the tool to work with the revision. So you saw me do a couple of things, right? So you saw me create revisions on the fly for parts that needed to be updated. You also saw me, I did a quick search, I replaced one part with another, but I also swapped out revisions of existing revisions for that handle assembly. So very quickly, we can do all of those operations. And again, we have full control over those revisions, but if I didn't tell you prior that I was working from a cloud server, you probably wouldn't know, right? We're just managing files inside of SOLIDWORKS in a controlled environment. Really, that's what we're doing. Now, the last thing I want to show is how, now that I've completed my design inside of SOLIDWORKS, I'm done working inside of SOLIDWORKS for the day. I want to just navigate to the cloud and see where the files are and explore these files a little bit more, and maybe preview the files directly on the web browser. Maybe I want to compare revisions. Maybe I want to create a bill of material. There's a number of things we can do. So we're going to explore that quickly, but next week we're actually going to do a lot more. So I just want to give a little preview of what we're going to be seeing next week, when it's time to actually explore all these files on the cloud and manage them directly on the cloud. So let's get back to SOLIDWORKS. Everything is finished saving, so I can actually close this and close everything. I don't need anything inside of SOLIDWORKS anymore. I'm going to launch my Chrome browser. Actually, it opened up on my second screen. Let's pull it in here. And I'm going to log in to the platform. Again, this is a secured area, right? So I need to be, put my password in, log in my platform. Now, we talked a little bit about last week about communities, and here actually I created a community for that Holmatro Spreader, and just put a little bit of detail of what we did so far. So in a post, I kind of commented that we added the yoke from my local computer. Then we went in and added links and pins from data stored on the cloud. We changed that pin, it wasn't the right material, and we updated the handle. Now, all of these screen captures were done with 3D Play, right? So we talked about that last week. I'm not going to spend too much time again, but all of these screen captures were done through my web viewer called 3D Play and annotation. But here I created another tab. And in this tab, I can explore a little bit better my design. So let's, for example, let's look at my new revision of my spreader. So here it's loading, I can expand. So that's my 3D Play. So we can see the new version with the square handle, the symmetries there. If I can go in here, we should see all of our components that were added. So that's my revision B, right? So now I got access to this viewer, but if I pull that over here, and we can already actually see it here, we see the two revisions, but we can also explore all these new components. So for example, one thing I like to show is my arm. So we've redesigned, we've made a revision. So now we can actually put these two parts together, and we could even go ahead and compare them side by side. So we can do that for parts, but we can also do that for assemblies. So sometimes you just want to have a visual cue of what's different. So now I can actually compare these two parts together, right? So there's actually an overlay, one on top of the other. Actually, an assembly would show better. So let's look at my handle assembly. So I'm going to drag my handle over here. As you can see, I can see the two revisions. Let's go ahead and compare these two, revision A with revision B. So again, I'm doing this everything from a web browser, no plugin necessary, no install necessary. So everything you're seeing me do here through the web browser could be done on any type of device connected to the internet, of course. But it could be an iPad, it could be a Chromebook, it could be pretty much anything that you can connect to internet. And now let's hide everything that's identical. So you see now we have a nice overlay of these two components, one on top of the other, that I can take a look at. So it's now easy to see what's changed between one version and the other. I can actually isolate them as well. So that was my revision A of the rail. That's my revision B of the rail. And now we can put them on top of one another. The other great thing here is that now I could also come in and capture a report. So I can actually export a report from here, create that into Excel, and now Excel is launching. So now I can have all of this information with a couple quick Excel, you know, tools, just format the table. I could, for example, filter everything that's just revised. And here I got a list. My handle assembly has been revised. Yep. Maybe I just want to look at everything that's identical. Click OK. Here's the list of all components identical between the two versions, or revisions, I should say. So I can pull out all of this intelligent data from my dashboard. I can also take a look at how or where these components are used. So using my related object, it's basically showing me here a tile view of my file references. So this is actually loading. So we can see here, that's my handle. Now you can see that the handle is connected to my assembly, right? So now I can start browsing around all of these components and see where everything is. So maybe I would just want to focus on my my spreader. So I'm going to select the spreader here. I've actually removed the handle from the view. I can see that the spreader has 36 references. One of them is that subassembly. In that subassembly, I've got a list. It's populating right now of my parts. I can also just open this group and fan it out. And now I can do a couple things. I can do fit all, and I could also print. So how cool is that to have a graphical view of all your components inside, or a tree structure of all your components right from the tool here. So again, really nice tools. And again, we're gonna talk more about that next week, as we're talking more about some of these tools that enables us to navigate these files. So we're gonna do a lot more next week, and I'm gonna touch on, just to give you maybe a little heads up, some of the cool things I like about navigating in the web, in my space using my dashboard, is now I can actually create new revisions and branches directly from here without ever touching SolidWorks. I can create copies. I can duplicate whole parts or assembly structures right from here and create those ahead of time. So if I'm a manager, I could actually create a new revision and then ask someone to go inside of SolidWorks and do the work to change something. That's actually what I want to do next week. So I just wanted to give you a quick heads up about how we can have access to all this data. But again, because everything is stored on the cloud, well, now I have access to everything very easily. So if I just want to take a look at, navigate, maybe do some comments, some markups, I don't need SolidWorks at all. Everything is stored in the cloud, and I have access to this anywhere from any design, from anywhere in the world, really. So really, this is what the platform enables us, right, to have access to the data. Even with SolidWorks, right, a lot of you today are probably working from home. How do you access the data, your SolidWorks data, from home? I have my laptop, SolidWorks is installed on my laptop, but the data, where is the data, right? So you might be using FTP site or Dropbox or Google Drive to copy files around, but it's unmanaged, right? You don't have control over that. With data stored on the cloud, it's accessible anywhere you're connected. So what we saw, originally we started with, we created a new part and a new drawing. I saved it on my space on the cloud, and then I opened files from it too. My gripper, my spreader, I should say, was halfway done, so I opened it from the cloud, and then I started working inside of SolidWorks. So it's very easy. So hopefully you saw that. How we can quickly drag and drop components right from SOLIDWORKS without having to go into a web browser or anything like that. You do it directly from inside of SOLIDWORKS. We also have full control of revision. So now I can see how the product is changing over time. I can control revision. I can control where revision goes and what product and everything like that. So I can have full control over that. And best of all, the idea with the 3DEXPERIENCE platform is that you have access to the data anywhere on any device. It's as simple as that. It's securely stored on the cloud. We have some data, a lot of people ask questions about security and whatnot. There's encryption, there's all of that. There's actually some papers in the little handout section if you're curious and you want to learn more how we do security. But I also want to highlight one of our early customers. So you have to be careful. The technology is not new. The technology has existed for years, but we've took that technology that existed at Dassault System and we SolidWorks-ized it for our use, for the usage of SolidWorks users. And Square Robot was one of our first users of the technology or the tool made for SolidWorks users. So there's also the, if you want to read this, their case study, it's also in the handout. But after the session, I'll roll a little video about 3-4 minutes long, I think, that talks about their story and how they're using it. It's pretty instructive. So if you want to stay tuned for at the end of the webinar to listen to that, I'll play it at the end. Again, information on the product can be found on our webpage. If you don't have time to screen capture the image, just I'll put my contacts. But just to wrap up, 2 weeks ago, we started talking about collaborative business innovator, create communities, just place where people communicate. Today, we went to the SolidWorks people, right? The SolidWorks users. How do you manage your SolidWorks data on the cloud? Well, that's how we do it. And I really specifically focused on SolidWorks because that's, most of you are using. So how do you manage that data? Now, next week, we're going to expand more on once the files are on the cloud and stored and managed on the cloud, what can I do? I showed you a little bit about revisions. I showed you a little bit about compare and pulling reports, and we're going to do a lot more next week. But I'm also going to tie in an optional product or tool that's called Project Planner that can integrate everything together, and you can create actually projects, planning, assign tasks to users and things like that. So we're going to talk more about that next week. And on that, I'm going to let Joelle wrap up things, and I'm actually going to take a look at questions while Joelle's doing that.
Good idea. All right, thanks, Michelle. Great information as always.
Joelle, I think we lost the audio. Yeah.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah, you're back.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. Touchy connection on my phone. All right, I won't touch it. Hopefully it sticks. All right, so great information. Thanks, Michelle. We have companies talking to us on a regular basis about how to manage their data, how to effectively keep their data in tow, either because something happened where somebody wrote over a file, a wrong file was used for management. There's a number of reasons for data management being essential in companies, even in individuals working alone. We have people who use data management. The reasons are many. Cloud is a different platform. We understand. There's reasons for cloud, right? There's reasons why people are looking at it today. One, from a collaboration perspective, very simply. The other one, maybe to recruit talent that's not in your regular office location, because there's just nobody. You can't find anybody anymore. You may want to find talent that's elsewhere, and you want to make sure that they're connected, that you can see what they're doing, that they're collaborating with your team, and that they're doing all of this very effectively. And the cloud is a way for doing it. Startups are turning to the cloud because it's quick, it's painless in general, and less expensive because, again, not the need for servers. and infrastructure to be able to host your business. So there's a lot of reasons why people are looking at these types of solutions. And today with the COVID-19, there's just an additional reason why people are looking at these types of solutions, because people are working from home today. How do we have that being still connected, effective, managers being able to see what people are working on, and having this data being stored securely somewhere. And this is just an additional information, an additional way of doing this. And I think this is going to lead more and more companies to question how they're working today and what they should do and could do to prepare for the future or prepare for next month as we're working through the challenges of today. So this has a whole new aspect to things. So innovate with a higher degree of confidence, as you can see, making the right decisions because you've got all the information at your fingertip, improving productivity and sharing easily all reasons why the 3DEXPERIENCE Works platform is a good solution. We've just scratched the surface with the first few webinars, as Michelle was explaining, and was very excited to share. There's more coming, and we are very excited to share this information with you. And again, this is just the surface because this is just collaboration, data management, and there's a whole other list of things that we're going to be showing you throughout the year. So stay tuned and stay connected with us as you're going through this. Remember that you can share this webinar with other people. Michelle, were there any questions before I do a final wrap?
Yeah, there's
okay. To give you a chance to read
a lot. I won't have time to answer all of them. I'm sorry. There's quite a few questions from James. I think James, just because the number of questions, we should probably get on
we'll take
call.
it offline.
I'll just gather a couple ones. So one from Nicolas asking about security. There's, like I said, there's a white paper in the handouts area. I got some other documents with regards to security. Cloud security is standardized, so there's actually existing standard, but it talks about how we do security. And also remember that we actually, even though we're connected to the cloud and files is being moved between local and cloud, and there's also encryption on top of internet security. So you might find your answers in there, Nicolas. Yeah, okay. Question about workflow, what we call maturity states inside of the SOLIDWORKS tool. Yeah, they can be customized, and depending on the type of document, there's different maturity workflows, if you want to call them that way. So yeah, they can be customized. It has to be done at the administration level, obviously. Training, yes, there's actually training on my SOLIDWORKS. I didn't mention it. Usually I put a slide there, but if you go on mysolidworks.com, there's actually training. It's called EnoviaWorks. And to James' point, so James, in one of his questions, is referencing the Enovia connector. This is basically Enovia technology. So you're referring to the Enovia connector, we're probably referring to the same thing. We just call it a collaborative designer for SOLIDWORKS, but it's Enovia's technology that we're leveraging. Yep. James, I think we should probably get on a call. There's just a lot of questions and it's gonna take too much time. So if you're open and willing to do that, I can certainly circle back with you later today or next week.
Perfect. All right. So again, you can share this webinar with others. You can access all of our webinars from our channel that we've done in the past. So the one we referenced from 2 weeks ago, or any others that we've done over the years, because it has been years now. So there's a lot of material in there. You can access them if you're having trouble or looking for something in particular. Don't hesitate. You can communicate with us. You can communicate with your reseller. We're all here to get you as much information as you want. And we invite you to join us next week, because we're going to continue on this, how it's going to connect with other people in your company, and how you can expand and use this data elsewhere in the enterprise. And I think you're going to see a lot of value with that information as well. So with that, I do encourage you to stick around and view the webinar that Michelle mentioned. from one of our early adopters of this technology for SolidWorks
It's just
users.
a 4-minute video, not a whole webinar.
Yeah. No, not a whole webinar, so real quick. So please stay tuned for that. It is well worth watching. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us. Continued patience in this time of changed work environment, and most importantly, health for you and your loved ones, your family, everyone around you as we work through this pandemic and get through it all together. Thanks again, Michelle, for the info. Thanks everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in another webinar. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.